take offense to that.
I wrote a book in my hair. You're really good though. You're right, that's not like pretentious. I look just I
told you.
I was literally laughing so hard and sitting so long my legs stopped working.
Stop working.
I stood up and I almost fell into the table.
How professional get your feet off my table?
Very assertive.
Hey, get away from me. I will take it. I will still say, all right. Let's calm down. I'm sure you guys. Probably put this back there so I don't. Okay. I'll thank you with this ticket. All right, calm down.
All right, I'm reporting, so no dirty words.
Well, that's a shame. That ruins the whole town.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Robert Midgett, author of Vagabonds, which is a science fiction war novel about humans invading an alien world, and follows the story of a group of civilians caught in the middle of the conflict. So that's that's my story. I'm sure we'll get plenty of questions about it. But there's I'm also going to be talking about publishing. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm published by Doug McKim of Same Old Story Publishing out of Halfway, Oregon, which is a smaller publishing company, but you get full creative freedom. This is going to be a Q&A panel, so people can ask questions about publishing or the book, depending on whether or not they've read it, or writing process. Whatever people want to ask. So, yes.
Talk about your favorite character.
My favorite character. My favorite character as a person or my favorite character to write?
Are they the same?
No.
Okay, so who's most fun to write?
Most fun to write. That would be Zeph, the bloody, insane sociopath blue blood who, more than anything, just wanted to, no matter his motives, it was obvious from the start, he just wanted to see things, he just wanted to see people die.
Well, that says a lot about you, huh?
No, he's my favorite to write. That doesn't make him my favorite as a person. My favorite as a person is probably Asen, who, despite being cowardly, is very lovable. He's...
Are you trying to save face?
Huh?
Are you trying to save face with this character?
No.
Okay. So you have, for people who haven't read it, you don't want to go into that about it.
Alright.
So people know who Asen is.
Yeah, no, okay. The novel follows the story of, like I said, humans invading an alien world and civilians caught in the middle. The conflict is the humans invading this world, and it follows each individual character from chapter to chapter, from each one's perspective. So there's a character like Zeph, who is on a revenge quest to go and kill a general, which is a terrible idea. And then there's like Asen, who joins the military to toughen himself up and realizes that was a terrible idea. There's Cal, who's just trying to help everyone he can. It's very diverse in terms of characters. And as the story progresses, they kind of age and mature, and I guess go on their separate adventures. And one character's even getting her own spin-off.
I have a question. And this is over all your works, because I've read many.
Yeah.
Quick question. As an author, do you feel like any remorse when you possibly make small or slightly larger children cry when you kill their favorite character?
Small or slightly larger? Slightly larger being like 16, 17? No.
Size.
Lucas size, maybe? I don't feel remorse because I've provoked emotion.
Oh, okay.
You know what? If you break it in tears, that means I've succeeded at provoking emotion with my story. If you've gotten that attached to the character, like I'm not going to go out of my way to kill off characters so people will cry, but that's definitely it's definitely satisfying to know that it's provoked emotion in people.
No, you can be honest.
That sounds sadistic.
That sounds like a really good book.
Just,
You can be honest on that.
yeah.
He also creates the tears of children, so...
I bathe in the tears of children, actually. Actually, I donate to St. Jude, so I'm doing the effective opposite of that.
If you
Don't
want,
make it
if you want, hey, when you write your next book, I'll send you a bucket of it, okay?
A bucket of child tears.
No, like an entire bathtub. Not that.
Okay.
For your creative writing, you know.
All right.
Always sacrifice someone's
Any
For
other
references.
Any other questions?
So how much do you donate to St. Jude?
I donate 10% to St. Jude because I love St. Jude. It is my favorite charity. I love children. I think that they deserve the right to grow up and kind of fit whatever future they might have.
How much have you donated so far?
How much have I donated so far? Like a total. It's 10% of everything I make. So yeah, it's 10% of everything I make. I don't know exactly how much that is, but huh?
Do you know how many books you sold?
Okay, what happens is they go from quarter to quarter and tell you. So, have we gotten the second quarter yet?
We don't have the second quarter.
Okay, right now we only have the first quarter, so we don't know
And
for
I
certain.
didn't do much marketing. But
So,
it's not bad.
but
He's probably donated a couple $100 to St. Jude.
so far, but
That'll
okay.
help quite a few kids.
All right. Any other questions?
Where did you get the idea to write about humans invading an alien planet?
I don't know. I honestly, it didn't strike me that I was doing anything different when I started it. It wasn't like, oh, well, this is a role reversal. It was just, this is the story in my mind. This is what I'm going to write. I didn't think that, you know, the humans being the bad guys was going to change it up at all. I just thought, this is a story that I want to write. So I guess the idea just kind of came to me.
How old were you?
I was 13 years old when I started it. It has since gotten much, much better over several revisions. It is, yeah, I finished it last year, and it was finally published in October of 2013. So, yes.
Where do you get your hair cut? It looks really nice today.
My aunt cuts my hair. Thank
That
you.
is wonderful.
That's a very, it's a very off-the-topic question.
I thought that was necessary.
It was necessary? Okay, it was necessary. Anyway.
What helped you decide what your character is going to look like? Are they based off anyone you know, or?
Not at all. Not in the slightest.
Where did you get their personalities?
The personalities. These two questions can go together. Okay. So, when I developed their kind of characteristics, I thought of a character, like for Zeph, I thought of a character people would kind of fall for. People would think was at least kind of attractive.
Charming.
Charming. Someone who you wouldn't be able to tell was a bloodthirsty monster. So I made him really handsome. He was very, very pretty.
So he's like a surfer. He looks really good, but he's a douchebag.
Yeah. So, and then like a lot of characters, I don't give too vivid of character descriptions because I like people to be able to kind of have their own mental image. Yeah, I know artists hate that. But I like people to have their own kind of mental image of the character. However, I do give basic enough descriptions. Like all can typically have dark hair and kind of. Cal is short in comparison to the others. It's it's not really defined. It's vague. Yeah, so that people can kind of have their own image. As for their personalities, I just thought about different people that you'd see in everyday life. Cal's really helpful and loving and kind of optimistic to a degree that some people find annoying, but I personally really enjoyed writing. Then there's like Neo, he was really cynical, and he's like, Cal, everything's great, but your plans are just awful.
So what kind of advice would you give to younger authors, like trying to get out there and get something published?
Younger authors trying to get published, write. Writing is the best advice I can give. You write your work, you revise your work, you improve everything that you can, And when you want to get published, you send in the manuscript to your publisher of choice, but avoid publishers that ask you to pay up front or pay really at all for anything that isn't like, if it's a smaller publisher, you're going to pay for, you're probably going to pay for your own artist or something if that's what you want. So, you know, you're going to have to spend some money, I guess, depending on, you know, what you're going to want to go for in terms of like cover design. Like, I didn't spend anything on cover design.
Did you go through multiple cover designs?
Multiple cover designs. I went through multiple cover design ideas. However, this cover design, we actually, I don't know. The artist sent it in to me, and I said, "That's good. That's perfect. Let's keep that." It's DNA sequences, and it suits the yes.
What was the world of Vagabonds like based on, like the towns and stuff? Was it mainly Western influences, or was there any other influences?
The society was mainly Western influences, but the landscape itself was heavily based on Vietnam, as was the war, really. It was heavily influenced by Vietnam, the Libyan Civil War, several, you know, various wars throughout history and recent history.
Is there anything you had trouble writing?
Is there anything I had trouble writing? The ending. It is so hard to write endings, okay? It is extraordinarily difficult to write endings, because I went through like 5 different endings over the span of a week. I had like several mental breakdowns coming up with my ending.
Tear-stained manuscript was sent in.
Yeah, tear-stained manuscript, yeah. Even though it was digital manuscripts, so that took some effort. Yeah.
Did you have any personal influences?
Huh?
Did you have any personal influences?
Personal influences? Well, there's my mentor, Doug Wickham, but more than that, I guess if it, or when we're talking about like literary influence and
Just kind of your life, like
My
any
life.
part of your life.
any part of my life, well, my life has been spent outside of an anarchist regime where they're mercilessly shooting down families, so I suppose no, personal experience hasn't tied into it. But
I love to go hear young writers because they always have the freshest ideas. And one of the best I heard were like little tricks. I want to know some of your tricks in writing. One of the best I heard was, it was about movies, but it was starting a scene as the action's already going on instead of having all this exposition. And then it kind of drives the action forward. Anyway, that was the most helpful to me then.
Yeah.
But do you have anything like that?
any like that?
Any writer's tricks?
Writer's tricks, keep them in the action the entire book. Even in the slow scenes, keep them in the action. You know, make them really want to turn the next page. Now,
That's a good.
yes,
Did you have trouble writing emotions that you weren't feeling at the time?
there's not an emotion I haven't felt. So no, I could immediately go back and recognize what I was writing, and you know, I could think on how I would feel about certain things. If there was dialogue that, like, if there was an argument in dialogue, I'd argue it with myself to see how it sounded. Yes.
What inspired, or not what inspired, how did you write the villain?
The villain of the book.
And both of them, because there's 2.
There's two, I guess two traditional villains, but the real villain is humanity itself.
But I was saying like the humanity and then the general. Like, how did you write the general?
How did I write the general? The way I wrote the general was a man very concerned with his own planet's safety and a disregard for this one's. Because when it comes down to it, the general is a human being. He is not remorseless. He is nothing like the soldiers he's sending in. He is a man very concerned with the security of his homeworld. It was sort of like the Crusades, where you say, all right, we have all these really violent knights hanging around here. We got to send them off somewhere. It was that line of thinking. So the general was just a weary old man. He wasn't particularly villainous. Yeah.
Now, like, the guy who wrote Game of Thrones, named like Cersei after the Lady in the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Now, how did you come up with the names that your characters?
The names, my names were actually, my protagonist names were heavily Greek influenced. However, not really influenced by the historical figures, any historical figures themselves. Zeph compares himself to Odysseus, although he is nothing like Odysseus. Well, he's arrogant like Odysseus, but he compares himself to Odysseus. But you know, he has a very different name, Zeph, which I honestly just thought it sounded good. I didn't even think about any meaning behind the name. However, there are characters like Ace and Aegypto or Cal's original name was Callias. It was just very, heavily Greek influenced, but not named after particular individuals.
But wouldn't Zeph work though? Because isn't Zeph historically related to wind, which is free-spirited? Last I remembered, Zeph didn't really like to be tied down anymore.
He didn't like to be tied down, but he was. I don't think that free-spirited is his defining characteristic.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Is there a character that you hated writing?
Character that I hated writing. Not really. I really liked writing everyone I wrote in this book.
Do you ever have characters you throw out because you're starting to write them and you begin to hate them for that?
Oh yeah, I had a character like that, who was very much like Zeph, in the sense that he was a violent wild card, but he felt too false as a character. He didn't really, he felt like a carbon copy, and I hated that. I threw him out. So, he was never to be seen again.
Are you working on any more stories?
Working on any more stories? So many. No. Like, Praxis gets her own spin-off. Yeah, she was a protagonist in Vagabonds. A story called Stars Still Shining about some washed-up old spaceship crew members. I've got a story outside of the Vagabonds universe called Out of Reach, which is post-apocalyptic, and follows the story of a young girl who's kidnapped by slavers at an early age, rescued, and kind of develops into a scavenger, sort of, but she's extraordinarily dangerous. I have a lot of stories that, I don't know, I have a lot in the works. I have one called Wintertide that is going to follow a caravan in the winter that's, it's heavily influenced by the works of Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams, so it's humorous. Yes.
Would it be possible for you to tell us what time period is Wintertide set in?
Wintertide is not set in a specific time period.
But is there like any influences?
Influences, I want to say Tudor England.
Okay, so no lays in the last names? Sounds good.
I know that one problem with many art forms is the trouble to, get in the mood to be creative. It's hard to continue working when you started on something when you're not all that interested in it. So was there ever a time that you weren't interested in writing, which you forced yourself to?
Yes, I call that the time that I cry in the fetal position. I can't stand that. It is the worst thing in the world. You start a story, you're really into it, you write like 5 chapters, and then you stop, and you think about it. You say, I'm gonna write something else now. I'm gonna go write something else now. It's terrible. I wish I didn't do it, but I do.
How much stress did writing this book put on you?
Cried a lot, we know that.
No. I'm mostly joking. I didn't cry that much.
2 hours.
Vagabonds put a decent amount of stress on me, but nothing I couldn't handle. I tried not to let it stress me out.
Any tips for getting over a writer's block or how
Getting
to keep
over
it
writer's
interested?
block.
Yeah,
Cry.
Yeah,
Listen to
Your part.
music that influences you, watch movies that influence you, whatever your media is. If it influences you, do it for a while, take a break, and then get back into it when you feel like getting back into it. It's the best advice I can give for that.
When you sent in your book to be reviewed and just trying to get it published, were you ever worried that you'd be denied?
Not at all.
Well,
Yeah, I sound arrogant, but the fact is, I'd already been talking to the publisher beforehand, and he'd already really, like, yeah, I cheated. I secured my position is what I did.
you cheat.
So become friends with publishers.
Become friends with the publisher.
Well, have
That's,
your mother know?
Not me, I didn't do
that had nothing to do with, she had nothing to do with
I
it.
didn't either.
She met him, that's it. Didn't even know him before we started
That's
talking.
really nice. Like, I bet there's some sort of influence in that.
Cal was my mother's influence.
I knew it.
Yeah. She didn't know that.
No, you never said
Tell
that.
her?
Huh?
You didn't tell her?
No, I figured she'd figure it out herself. Anyway,
I
any other questions?
You think that you are, in fact, a huge nerd.
Hmm?
You think that you are, in fact, a huge nerd.
A huge nerd?
A huge nerd.
You know what? Probably.
Do you think you'll be publishing longer books?
Longer books? Maybe. I have one that I've been working on in secret. It's like hidden in a cellar.
You have to look at it by candlelight.
And it chronicles the character's entire life, like, without skipping much,
You
so.
have to read it by candlelight.
Well, I can give you a little bit of encouragement when you say you have those pieces that you write. I used to be a songwriter, and I noticed that the Beatles write songs, they write 2 songs, because their verses are very hooky and their choruses are very hooky. And so it's really like 2 songs that come together, and it's like everybody has these pieces of things. So if you want to write a longer book, hang on to all those things, because they'll probably fit together someday nicely. You know, like The Walking Dead is all these episodes, but it's a big arc.
Oh, reviewers. How have you been compared to by your reviewers?
George R.R. Martin, and that is flattering. I love the work of George R.R. Martin. And being compared to him, I've been compared to him in terms of character work, and that is a huge honor. I don't like to get a big head, but
Really now.
it's
No.
I shouldn't. Hey, I'm mostly joking about it. Don't fret. I'm sorry? What was that book? Yeah. So anyway, I've been compared to George R.R. Martin, and that is probably one of the highest honors that can be given to me.
Are you going to be selling any Vagabonds merch?
Yes. Once we get it done, I really want a T-shirt to be made that says "Free the Astarians" and has like a little Astarian in cuffs. That's just
Like that?
yeah, like that.
She just drew that.
Oh wow.
Can you make those in band shirts?
Band shirts? I'm not a band. So.
We'll figure out a way.
We'll figure out a way.
We can make a band. We got this. Don't roll that out.
A band of authors, that would be the worst band imaginable. They'd all be like having completely different ideas on how they're going to perform.
If this was a movie, who would you cast to play your characters?
Yeah.
Who would I cast to play my characters? Well, I've thought about it, and I honestly can't, like, I don't have any major characters that I would cast, that I know I would cast, but Sebastian would be Sean Bean, I know that much. He would have to be in it.
Sean Bean has to be.
Sean Bean has to be in it. If it's a movie and I have the opportunity to put Sean Bean in it, he has to be in it.
Even if he's just standing in the background for like 2 minutes?
Yeah,
So I'm sure.
that's the main one I thought about too. Like after Sean Bean, it's like
Chris
any other
Hemsworth, so I
actors.
can drool over him.
You said you were writing a spin-off of one of the characters. Are you planning on doing that with any of the other characters, or maybe why the humans invaded?
The other characters will be featured in other stories, but why the humans invaded is explained. But I do have a follow-up short story about how the after effect of the invasion was handled. Yes?
If this was a children's book, what kind of nursery rhymes would you have in it?
Nursery rhymes.
What nursery rhymes do you associate with this book?
What I don't associate nursery rhymes.
Think about it!
It's a lot of violence.
You know what? Any German fairy tale.
Fair enough.
Once